Welcome back to the podcast, The We're Fitness Family. My name is Shiloh Bryant. It's my wife.
Danny.
Something that's very big for a lot of people is the fear of starting over, right? And that could be in many things in life. That could be whether it's the gym or sometimes it could be even you're having kids. And now I got a 10-year-old at this point, and now I'm going to have more kids. What do you feel about the fear of starting over? When is an experience you can think of that really kicking in for you?
One of the biggest experiences for me is going from a 12-year relationship with the father of my kids. We were married, and he was like the only person that I ever knew. He was my first, boyfriend or serious relationship, and that's all I had ever known. So to go from this is the only person that I know, he's the father of my kids, I've spent 12, years with him, to figuring out that it wasn't the best relationship for me to be in, and we were causing each other more hurt than pain. And it got to a point where, I had made my decision, but the biggest thing was, how can I start over after all those years? It makes you feel like the time that you put in has been wasted, or the time that you were there didn't mean anything, or just the fear of, am I ever going to find something, or am I ever going to be in a relationship again? Because you're already coming from a place of having, kids. And, a lot of people, you may feel, and it's a lot of things, like what goes on is that you may feel and think a lot of things that may not be true. Like you're lying to yourself. And anything that you're scared of starting over, it's almost like you're talking yourself and you're filling yourself with those fears, but you don't really know if that's true.
Yeah.
So
even when people like, I wasted all that time, I should have went ahead and got out of it sooner, or my body when I was in the gym was this way, so now when I get back to it, I'm scared to start because it's just going to happen again. When people have this feeling, it's so easy to get stuck there, and you could change your life. It could get so much better if you would just start again, but that fear of it just holds you back from what's possible.
And I think the biggest thing for people that have fear of starting over is because they feel like they failed in the first attempt. So if I failed at it one time, what guarantees that I won't fail again? And it's just going to keep happening to me. So when you're starting over, you're already starting from that place of, I'm scared. I'm scared that this is going to happen again. Even if it's, let's say, a new job or a new career or a new relationship or whatever it is that you're starting over. You might be doing it because you're looking for something better, or you're starting over because you're looking for, something different. But really, when you look at it that way, you're taking a chance. But if you looked at it like, I know this is going to work and this is better for me and I'm starting over with a purpose, then it's a lot less scary because you know that you're doing it for a reason. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to be scared.
And honestly, that is, when you think about it, that's why a lot of people don't want to take that leap, because they're looking for a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want this, even when it comes to working, right? You feel like it's a guaranteed paycheck you're going to get every Friday or every other Friday or every month, depending on what job you work, depending on how you get paid. So you want this guaranteed check. I don't have to worry about if some clients fall off or if not enough people come in, I'm still going to get paid. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, now it's like, when your next check comes is going to depend on what you're doing and bringing to the table. So that fear of uncertainty stops people from taking a leap that could make them so much better. But if you really think about it, how many things in life have made you tremendously better and there was a guarantee that it was going to work?
Almost
Like,
done.
none. Like, even when you come into the gym for the first time, you're not guaranteed to get in shape. You're not guaranteed to be in the best shape of your life. Even when it comes to parenthood, you're not guaranteed to be the best mom ever. You're not guaranteed to be the best dad ever. You just have to take that leap, and then every day taking it a step at a time, doing it the best way you know how. So I think a lot of it is also being honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to blame externally all the reasons why something didn't work out the first time. But let's say it was fitness, all right, and it didn't work out the first time. Ask yourself, why didn't it work out?
Mm-hmm.
Were you eating right? where you're around the right people that keep you motivated, where you're working out when you should, like being honest with that. When you're being honest with that, you can say, well, this time it didn't work out because of these things. So this time I can change this to get a better result. I can change that to get a better result. I feel like a lot of times people don't really narrow it down to all the things that cause it to not
They'll
work
say
the first
no
time.
matter no matter what I do, it never works.
Yeah,
And
there you go.
you're probably going in it with the wrong mindset. So for me, there's definitely been a lot of those situations where I felt like I had to start over. Even going from, like you said, working a state government job to saying, I know I'm not meant for this. I want something more. To taking a leap and saying, I'm going to go, work with my dad to learn something that I think could help me be better. And then taking a leap from that and saying, I'm going to do it myself.
Yep.
So no matter what it is, it's just the mindset that you have and the belief that you have in yourself that no matter what outcome comes out of the decision that you've made, you're going to make it to be better.
If you're going to learn, you're going to get better. Or if it works out, you're going to get better.
Yeah.
So it's not a losing situation, but people come at it like, I'm going to lose, I'm going to fail,
Yeah.
so I don't
And
get anything.
if you listen to those external voices, because there's always going to be people that maybe they do love you and maybe they do care about you, but they're going to be telling you things like, why would you do that? Or are you crazy? Or, you're too old in life to start over, or that's a risk. And sometimes you have to ignore those voices and go after the thing that you really want and that you're willing to, no matter what happens, you're going to be okay with the outcome because this is something that you want to do for yourself.
Yep.
Because those are the moments where you're going to find yourself really pushing forward. And sometimes those outside voices are the ones that help you to say, no, I got to keep going because I knew that I was going to get this. And personally for me, like that's one of the things that when I made my decisions, anybody could have looked around and said, you're crazy for that.
Yeah.
But
How it usually goes.
yeah, and that's why I want people to know that it's normal for you to get that. And it's normal for you to feel like, why would I do this? Like, I am scared out of my mind to do this. But if it makes sense to you and you know what you're willing to do to follow through, then it's something that you have to do, to really push yourself and grow.
Can you hear that? Like, that's being scared to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Fear isn't a bad thing. Fear all depends on how you're using it. If you're allowing it to hold you back, then it's a bad thing. But use that fear as, hey, I'm so scared, but I'm going to take that leap anyway. A lot of times you go much further and you actually feel a lot more confidence and stuff in yourself later on. It's like, I was so scared and so shook to do this, and I did that. Those are the things that you feel the best about, and it gives you even more fuel for the next things to come later.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things that helped me break out of what you would call social norms and how you're supposed to do things, because the world has always told you need to do it this way, was really educating myself and opening my mind to different perspectives, like what you had said about the worker's mentality. I realized that that is something that was put in me when I was very small. You have to work very hard, work very hard, work very hard. And it's the example that I always, seen from my family, from my dad. But then I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way. Why am I following, something that I don't even like to do? Like for me personally, I never enjoyed just being in a 9-to-5 job where I felt like I had no flexibility. It wasn't me. For some people, they end up doing that because they feel like this is the only way that I'm going to have stability when I get older, or this is what I'm doing to provide for my family. And that's okay if that's what you decide and that's what you feel, comfortable. But for me personally, I knew that there was more out there for me, something that really made me feel, full and really made me feel fulfilled about pushing my limits. So I've always been that kind of person I never knew I was this much of a risk taker.
Yep.
But with time, I realized that the things that would hold me back or keep me in the box were the things that I was always taught. You have to do it this way.
And that's the thing, like a lot of the guarantees you feel like you have right now, they're short-term guarantees. Like because you're getting that paycheck right now and you get it next week, you feel like it's a guarantee. But if the boss falls on hard times and the situation at work changes, they're going to look out for their best interest and their family's best interest. So you have to keep that in mind. The only way you can really guarantee is by giving your all to whatever you believe in. Because now you know if it's not working, what things could I have done to make it work better?
What a lot of people don't realize is that the people that are very, very, very successful have failed thousands of times in life before.
Yep.
And recently I heard somebody explain that every time that you get a no in life, or somebody shuts the door, or something happens and it turns into what you would call a failure, if you knew that if you could try 2 or 3 more times and it would be success, would you look at it in the same way?
It's big. Yep.
Would you look at it and say, I'm going to quit? What if you quit right before you were going to be really successful in that thing that you've been after? So it really is like being okay with the failures in life, knowing that if you start over, you are just closer to the end goal. You're closer, you're doing what it takes, because you will get rewarded for the time, the belief, the energy, because all along the way you're learning new things, you're meeting new people, you're exposing yourself, and the world and life they do reward you for that.
And once again, we're not saying a 9 to 5 is bad.
No.
Right? There's nothing wrong with that. But you got to be honest with yourself. Are you comfortable with that? If you are and that's what you want, stick with it.
Yeah, for me personally.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing wrong with that.
For me personally, I wanted to explore my options because I even told you, when I came into the relationship, I told you I like to be out. I like to connect with people. I don't really like a desk job. And I was telling you, what are the things that I enjoy in life? And there's people that, they're very comfortable. They're the exact opposite. They don't really like to socialize with a lot of people. They rather just, do what is their job and then go back home. But for me personally, I didn't really like that.
And I love what you said there about if you knew that in 2 more attempts or 3 more attempts that the greatest blessing or whatever is on the other side that could change everything for you. I love that. And it made me also think about another big reason why people fail is we set these unreasonable deadlines on ourselves. If this doesn't happen by a year or this doesn't happen by 2 years, then I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm finished with it. If I don't lose this amount of weight by this 1 year or by the summertime, then what's the point? I give up. It's okay to set deadlines because you want to have like milestones. Because you need to say, am I actually making progress to get closer to my goal? But it shouldn't be, if it doesn't happen by this time, I'm done with it. So I feel like a lot of times that's why people fail. Because if it's something you believe in and you're passionate about, why does it matter when it happens?
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, if you're like, I want to be a millionaire. If you become a millionaire 2 years from now versus you becoming a millionaire 15 years from now, still 15 years from now, your life is going to be a lot better because you made that happen. Versus saying, well, since it didn't happen in 2 years, I give up now. I'm not going to do it anymore.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we live in these times where everything is instant gratification. People want things now. Like if I start this business today, I expect, tomorrow that I'm going to get a client. There's going to be times where you're going to keep going and you're going to keep going and you're going to put in that effort and nothing is really happening.
Yep.
And what happens is there is a lot of trial and error. There is a lot of ups and downs that you have to, there's a lot of things that you have to figure out, for something to work. And that's why entrepreneurs and the people that are really successful will tell you, I had to struggle. I had to work really hard. I had to go through so many things. But the question really is, are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to figure things out? Are you willing to be here at 4:30 in the morning? Are you willing to say, what are the things that I need to change and switch so that this actually works?
Yeah, because a lot of these overnight successes that you see, you didn't get to see all of the backlog of things they had to do leading up to that point. It could have been 10 years, 15 years of them building themselves to now they finally got the opportunity to act on it. But all you see is they blew up this week. They blew up in a month's time. But there's so much that goes into play that people might show you the snippet, but there's a lot more there left.
Another thing that is very scary for women, especially moms, is starting over knowing that you have your kids and that you really have to look out for them. Whether it is, I'm starting a career, I'm in a new relationship, I'm getting this new job, you're always thinking about, how does this affect my children? How am I going to be moving everything around so that it can still accommodate them and it still works for me? And sometimes you have to make these really big sacrifices. I remember at one point when I was going to nursing school and I was thinking, how the heck am I going to do this? How am I going to juggle, my kids? I still have to work. I still have to study. I still have to find time for them. I still have to find time for myself. So when you're starting over in anything, it doesn't matter what it is, you're keeping in mind your children, but sometimes it'll hold you back because you're thinking there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. But if you look at the bigger picture, when you want to start something and you're saying I have to start over, you should really think about the long run. What is it going to cause now? How uncomfortable and how many sacrifices am I going to have to make now? But what is it going to look like in the long run? And I think for mothers, we really doubt ourselves sometimes, and we really doubt the situation if we're going to be able to overcome it because we're thinking about the kids.
And those kids are always learning from you.
Mm-hmm.
The things you're not telling them, but they're seeing you do, they're learning from you. Whether mom is working 3 or 4 jobs, maybe they're learning, oh, she's a hard worker. She'll do whatever it takes. Or they could be learning the opposite. Wow, mom never has any time for me.
Mm-hmm.
Mom is never really there. You never know. It just depends on the kid to how they perceive it and how they take that into when they're growing up and do the same thing.
Yeah, and that's something that's very real for us moms anytime that we want to start over in anything.
Yep.
But specifically for, those moms that are starting in a new relationship like I did. It's something that for me, I remember us, having conversations and me saying, well, I want to make sure that we're in the best possible place, stable. We know what are the next steps to be able to incorporate the kids and so that they get to know you and all these different things that I wanted to keep in mind for my peace of mind and how I wanted to move. So even when it comes to if you're having to start over with your family, because these kids are always, going to be with you and they're always going to be looking up to you and they're always going to be, impacted by your decisions. So when it comes to that, it's really finding that middle ground of I'm doing this for my kids or I'm not doing this for my kids. Like ultimately, what is the bigger picture and how it could affect my kids in the long run? Is it going to be a little uncomfortable now? Am I going to have to find, or be the person in the middle? Yes, but what are the ultimate, what is the ultimate outcome from it?
Because that could very well lead to you being able to spend more time with them. Because of the decisions you made right now, now you have so much more free time and they're learning principles they can take later too. So starting over is never a bad thing. It's actually worse to not start again on something you know you should start on, but you just have the fear of starting, than starting over. Just start over, take the leap. It's okay. Just use the experience that you had before to give you a bigger boost on what not to do. The more times you go at something and it doesn't work out, you know what not to do. The more things you know not to do, that means it's putting you closer to what you should do to be successful at it. So ask yourself, even tell us in the comments below, what's something right now that you know you need to start over on, but you haven't started over on because of the fear of what could happen, the fear of failing again. And really, you haven't failed. If you start over, it could easily be a success.
Or maybe ask yourself, what is something that I've always wanted to do, but I never did it for fear because I didn't want to start this new journey.
On that note, that's the end of the podcast, Newberg Fitness Family. We'll be back again before you know it.
See ya.
See ya.